In Money Watch, there have been a lot of surprises in this year's NCAA Tournament. No one, I repeat, no one had a perfect bracket by the end of the first round. And while sports bettors may be upset with the losses, the upsets are actually huge wins for the sports betting companies. Joining us now for more on this is Anthony Dabbundo. He is a staff writer at the Action Network. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us. Now, tell us a little bit how this year is different from previous years when it comes to betting on the tournament.
March Madness is notorious for its upsets, and of course there are the traditional Cinderellas like St. Peter's, but what we're seeing this year is that there wasn't really dominant teams throughout the course of the regular season. So what you had was flawed one seeds. You saw teams like Gonzaga, who are traditionally amongst the elite. They lost last night. You saw Kentucky, who was the third betting favorite. They were out on day one. Iowa was a trendy underdog pick as a 5 seed to make a run to the Final Four. They were out on day one as well. So because of the new rule changes with COVID giving guys extra years and players staying longer in college at some of these smaller programs, you're seeing there's more parity in the sport and thus more upsets. And traditionally, bettors like to bet on favorites. Doesn't typically go well in March Madness with given the number of upsets we've seen already, especially Baylor, the defending national champions, also 1 seed. They went out in the second round. So we're seeing a lot of parity this year and a lot of upsets.
Anthony, you're rubbing salt in my wounds because I had Baylor, I had Kentucky, I had Gonzaga. Not that I really follow that closely, but name recognition did not help me when I was choosing my bracket this year. So since all brackets were busted by the end of the first round, how should you be betting for people at home if they want to make up some of their lost money back moving forward, for those of us who maybe bet $10?
Right. Well, I think it's important not to overreact to one game. In college basketball, it's 40 minutes, and a lot of things can happen in one 40-minute sample. St. Peter's can win as 18-point underdogs against Kentucky, and then they can go beat Murray State as 8.5-point underdogs in the second round. It's important to take the entire season into account. Of course, you're weighting the more recent games more heavily, but also recency bias plays a strong part in why people tend to overreact to one game. And then maybe you bet on a team like St. Peter's and then you don't realize, okay, the matchup tonight against Purdue is not particularly favorable and they're probably going to struggle in this game. And I think overall, generally good betting habits. If you're losing, don't chase and try to win it all back on one bet. That's just how you lose more. Stick to your process, stick to kind of betting the same amount on every game, and really keep preparing for more upsets. If Kansas loses tonight, it'll be the first time in the history of the tournament that 0-1 seeds have made it to the Elite Eight in one tournament. So that's a pretty remarkable stat and definitely something that should be considered if you're considering betting on Providence tonight, who are 7.5-point underdogs against Kansas. But overall, don't do parlays. That just increases the odds of you losing your bet to the book, and the book takes more money from you generally on parlays. And again, be disciplined and don't overreact to one game, because really it's just one game in a 30-plus game sample of this team that we have data on.
The house always wins. So, Anthony, are there any other types of bets you think people should stay away from?
Yeah, I would just say parlays. Definitely don't go trying to think you can pick all of the games. And you know, obviously everybody wants to see the big payout number that they can win if they were to win all of their picks. But you haven't done that well thus far with your bracket. You're probably not going to get them all right tonight. For example, there's 4 games. Bet them individually. See how you do. That way, if you win 3 out of 4, you're winning some money.
3 out of 4 bet. Anthony, we're out of time. In one word, who's your top pick?
Houston, undervalued all year.
Great. Anthony, thank you so much.